and welcome to the Earthborne Games podcast. I'm your host, Anders Carlson, and joining me are Evan Simonette. Hey, Evan.
Hey.
Have you been receiving lots of feedback about our epic mini episode last week?
Not really, but I looked at the YouTube comments, and there's at least one person that didn't think the character from Control looks like Bob Odenkirk at all.
Oh, that's right.
So,
I saw that too.
yeah.
I agree with that person, and there was some positive comments on there. I enjoyed making it with you, and that's all that matters. In case you didn't see it, me and Evan tried to do a little sketch for you last week. Anyway, we also have Andrew Navarro. Andrew's back. You had a little time off. Are you feeling recharged and ready to take on Earthborne?
Oh, yeah. I feel great. I felt really enlivened yesterday being back home and it being cold and wet, but also very spring-like, which felt really awesome. I really enjoyed your guys' little episode. I watched it. I watched it as soon as it posted. It was fantastic.
Live feedback here you guys are witnessing. That's
and I agree. The YouTube comments have been awesome. We've gotten a lot of really good book recommendations. I've been checking out those books. So I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone who's commenting. Yeah,
keep commenting, everybody. It boosts the algorithm, I think, for us. So say whatever you want.
I don't ascribe to that at all. Keep with the only if you have something.
It's about the human connection.
To contribute. That'd be awesome.
Right. Well, welcome back to the cold Minnesota weather.
Thank you.
And we have a special guest tonight. He is Andrew's longtime best friend. Do you still call people best friends?
I would say that. Yeah.
BFF of Andrew and concept artist on Earthborne Rangers. It's Joe Banner. Hi, Joe. Hi, welcome.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
We've got a lot of cool art to look at. Joe's going to show us really early concept sketches. Andrew's got some early concept sketches. We're going to have some cool finished art to show you. So this is going to be a fairly visual heavy episode, and I'm going to do my best to describe what's going on for the audio only listeners. But if you want to, we're over there on YouTube and you can see all the cool artwork. I was just looking at it. They're just showing me before we started recording, and I'm excited to talk about it. But first, we got some listener questions and comments that I would like to share. And we're going to start with one from Taylor. And Taylor asks, I'm curious how you all are approaching an open world card game. How is that different than a large play area in Arkham Horror made up of multiple locations? And how is it similar and different than an open world in a video game? This is something I'm curious about as well. Who wants to take a stab?
It's a couple of really great questions. One of them is very specific to people who know what Arkham Horror is and how to play it. And the other is also a great question. I originally was planning for Fisher to answer this, but he's on assignment. He'll be back next episode. So I'll take this one. So in Arkham Horror, when you set up an individual scenario in the Arkham Horror card game, you place out several locations on the table in front of you. So that could be, anywhere from 4 to 5 to 6 to 7. Like it all depends on the scenario that you're playing. And each of those locations is then connected to another from a matching icon on each card. And you can travel between those locations based on those icons. And I think it's a really interesting question and an interesting observation, because if you imagine that those cards have lines drawn between them and then look at the Earthborne map for the Valley, I think you could, come to ask this question, like, what is the difference? Like, is it because it effectively seems like the same thing? But the biggest differences between the two is that when you're playing an Arkham scenario, regardless of the locations that are in play, you're always playing with the same mythos deck or the same scenario deck. So you go from one location to another in an Arkham scenario, you're still drawing the same cards from the same deck when you're encountering creatures or cultists or what have you, events that happen to you in that game. Doors, lots of locked doors and rats. So when you're playing Earthborne Rangers, however, every time you travel to a new location, you're creating a brand new path deck, which is the equivalent of the Mythos deck in our game. So you may have one location, you may travel to another location on that map, but as soon as you do that, you're creating a brand new deck from which you'll be drawing your cards. So in that way, it's very, very different. So that I think is the biggest difference between those two things. As for how it's similar or different than an open world video game, there's also already a lot of differences between a lot of open world video games. So even saying that's pretty broad. So I'll also keep it generally broad. So I would say it's similar in that your individual experience as a player with the game can vary considerably from someone else's, depending upon which and how many different elements of the game world you choose to engage with. So as you're playing the game, you'll have lots of options, opportunities to go left or right physically on the map, and which locations you encounter will be, and the things you encounter there are going to be very different from what someone else might experience when they play the game. And the fact that it's a card game also creates a wide range of variability. So you're creating decks, you're drawing randomly. What you experience in the game, like how many side quests you decide to do, how much you want to stick to the main quest versus like going off and doing your own thing. And then the different options you have, even within the main quest, to pick option A or B or C. All of those things, I think, will contribute to people having very wildly different experiences. I think that same thing is true in a lot of open world video games. Some people, we always go back to Skyrim. Skyrim's a great one to go back to because so many people are familiar with it. But, a lot of people in Skyrim, common thing, or for any Elder Scrolls game, is say, oh, I don't even play the main quest. I just go off and I do all the side quests, and that's the best stuff. And some people are like, I beelined the main quest. And then once that was done, I went and did a bunch of side stuff and I turned it off. And I think it's pretty similar to that, where, it's really going to depend upon how you approach it. Like if you're someone who wants to 100% the game, you can do that. But if you're someone who just wants to go in once and have like a really cool experience that's personalized to you, you can do that too. And you can also just, mainline the main quest and kind of ignore everything else. And that's also an option. So, it's very similar in that way. I think the way it's most different, though, is that since it's a tabletop game, you get to use your imagination, which is something that you kind of get to do with video games, but it's doing a lot of the work for you. So, the theme and the art will inform your perception, but ultimately, how the action plays out in the theater of your mind is up to you. And I think that's one of the things I really enjoy about playing the game. And I think it's honestly kind of enriched by the fact that whenever I play, I'm playing with blank cards. So there's no artwork on it. It's just theme. So I get to use my imagination a lot, and it's still, a lot of fun, even without that artwork. So I think once the art is in the game, it's just going to elevate it to another level. And I'm really excited to both to play it that way and for other people to play it. So yeah, I think, that's the biggest difference. It's the nature of the medium. It allows for more or different experiences than you'll get from a video game.
I personally, I don't know if other people feel this way, but one thing I like about tabletop games and the fact that the things you're looking at on the board have art. I always saw the art as like a lens that is looking at the world from a certain angle and not necessarily how you have to imagine it. Whereas a video game, it's like I'm shown a 3D model of a character and like that's what they're supposed to look like. But even with games like Magic that has such a broad collection of styles, I'm always looking at that as like, well, these are just different ways to imagine the world. So it's informing, my perception of this world, but also like it's allowing me to come up with my own imagery too.
Well, I know
that's
like
something. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Anders.
No, what you're going to
you go
say
ahead.
is better. Okay. Well, I was just going to say, I think some video games try to put you into the player's role, such as Breath of the Wild, where Link doesn't talk. He's just this silent guy. I think a lot of video games try to mitigate that or whatever to help you use your imagination a little bit more. But you're right; it's just a 360 view of the whole world. And
sometimes I like responding as the silent character to the PCs.
Oh.
I think it's pretty fun.
Sometimes it's just kind of awkward, isn't it?
Well,
They say something to you, and it's just yeah.
my son is hilarious. My older son, when he plays games, he's always talking to the video game. It's awesome. He really enjoys it and really gets into it. So like I was kind of inspired by him. So sometimes when I play Skyrim, I'll like read aloud the kind of like act out the questions you're asking the NPCs.
That's fun.
So I was going to say, you, Evan, you talking about like the different apertures into like viewing the world, and your art being one of those, where it I think you're totally right. And I think one of the things I really enjoy about the Warhammer artwork, Warhammer 40,000 artwork, and the Warhammer Fantasy artwork is something that Alan Merritt from Games Workshop explained in a meeting once where I was present, and it was really awesome to hear him talk about that very thing, about how the world is this object, and then he kind of drew it as a circle on a whiteboard, and then he drew a line like leading to like a little like kind of a little cone, and said this one view on the world is the art, and then made another little cone, and like this little cone, this is the miniatures, and it's like this little cone here, this is the fiction, and they're all different ways of viewing the world, but none of them are the world itself, which is really awesome. It's a great way to approach, I think, IP, because it kind of creates this aura of mystery, and then really also allows for a lot of creativity if done properly. So I thought that was really cool, and that's something I really have taken to heart ever since I heard it.
Kind of takes the pressure off too.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Totally. I mean, to know that it's like an evolving thing, and you can create and bring your own stuff to it is really important.
Evan, I feel like we're in like aesthetics and criticism class or something. Like really getting to like, what is art? This is not a pipe kind of thing. Yeah.
Why did I sleep through those classes? Dang it.
I know. I was like, do I have anything to add about it? Not really, but I can comment on how it feels like that. Anyway. Interesting. Well, let's talk art.
Yeah.
With Joe. But it says here on the Google Doc, who is Joe Banner? Who is this guy in the bottom right corner of our screen? Andrew, do you want to interview Joe?
Do I want to? I don't know if I'd be a great interview of Joe, because that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of, you guys, you're old buds.
Yeah. So I don't really need to ask him. When we talk, we don't really.
Well, we just talk in movie quotes usually. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you called him up on the phone, what would be the first thing you say to him?
Hi, Joe.
Oh, hey.
Hey, man, what's up?
Where were you born?
I can introduce Joe a little bit. I can give you a little foundation here. So Joe and I met in the summer between our 6th and 7th grade. We had a mutual friend named Todd, who lived a few blocks away from me. So Joe and I went to the same middle school, but we didn't really know each other. And he'd just moved into town that year, and I had just moved into town a couple of years prior. So we're both pretty new to the area too. We lived in Dublin, Ohio. So we had this mutual friend, Todd, who invited us both to go with him to the local water park called Wyandotte Lake, which was just down the street from Joe's house. And it was awesome. We spent many days at Wyandotte Lake. Lots of big water slides. It was across from the Columbus Zoo.
Nice.
Had an awesome wave pool. It was pretty, and it then also had kind of carnival type rides, like state fair style rides. So we went there together, and then somehow I don't know what happened to Todd. We just kind of like disappeared.
Yeah, so I do remember, like, that's like, you don't really remember the first time you really connected with somebody, but like, I really remember the first time I connected with you because we went on the Barracuda. Was that ride that like spin you around like this? And Todd did not want to
never forget the Barracuda.
Yeah, it's like a Ferris wheel, but you're riding in a cage that you can flip.
Yeah, you could lock it and it would flip you upside down.
Oh my God.
Probably a ride I would not want to ride nowadays. But
Yeah,
Todd did not want to get on it, so me and Andy got on, and it flipped us all around, and we were just dying laughing, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah,
poor Todd.
Let me collect my thoughts. Let me collect my thoughts. And just cracking up the whole time. It was awesome. And then from there we've just always been close. There was one moment in 8th grade where I was a jerk and then spurned Joe's love for a few months because I was trying things out, young teenager being stupid. But then after that, we were just tight friends forever. We went high school together, and then we also went to college together, and stayed close. Now we get together once a year, which is what we just did this past week is where we were. When we tried to do the podcast, but the upload speeds are just horrible. So it was not possible. But we wanted to do it on location. So anyway, that is the very, very short version.
So when Earthborne comes into your imagination, Andrew, how do you get Joe's attention? How do you what
I
do
said,
you do?
Joe, do you want to work on this thing with me? And he said yes.
Sure. That's pretty much it.
Actually, what I think happened was you guys made a pinky swear before you went down the Barracuda, and you said, if we both make it through this, we're going to go on and make this game. And now you're making good on the bet, or the deal.
All right. Thank you, Evan. You've earned your pay for this episode for that.
Okay.
So Joe, you're an artist. Are you an artist by trade, or is this like, what do you do?
No, excuse me. I went to art school at OU. I was into fine arts. I went there for initially an illustration major, but then they canceled that after my first year, and then I stumbled down several majors since then to like painting, and then sculpture, and then eventually nothing.
I understand.
I've always art's just it's never been like a career path for me. It's been more of like just a thing of passion that I do. And I just, I've always dabbled my toe in a lot of things, like be it pottery or sculpture, and like, just my whole life.
Cool. And you're kind of, when these guys talk about you, I always think of you as kind of like this mastermind behind the art of the game. But how does that work? Like, how do your concept pieces like influence the rest of the art?
When Andy first, introduced the idea of Earthborne Rangers to me, he showed me his first concept sketches, and he's like pretty much just go from here, go from this, and gave me the idea of it and how it's this place way in the future, and it's and so I just started working off his sketches and kind of just jamming, and then like weekly would meet and I'd show him like, hey, this is what I've done so far, and then he'd either like something or so explore this more. So it was really just like a lot of exploring characters and trying different ideas, and trying to stick with his motifs that he went with, and
That's cool. And we're going to be looking at like a bunch of that stuff and talking about how you guys work together and coming up here. Do we want to get into that already, or what do you think?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. So we have a ton of stuff, cool stuff to show you.
Yeah, I'll start here with the screen sharing.
Here it comes, everybody.
Yeah. Oh,
All right, we're
ignore that
live. We're live.
Spoiling
Okay.
that one.
So we're looking at a sketch.
All right.
We're looking at a sketch, pencil sketch by Andrew. Tell me about it,
Yes.
Andrew. What is this?
So this, let me close that. This is the first sketch that I did for the setting, which is this kind of teched out dude with like a really wide brimmed hat, looking out over a valley where there's a strange structure that could be natural, could be a ruin in the distance, almost like a giant termite mound or something.
Mm-hmm.
And with a kind of a hot looking big sun hanging above it. And this was kind of this first idea I had of, or my first kind of attempt to kind of like draw out this idea I was having about, what explorers in the far future might look like. It's something that I thought about a lot when going on hikes in Colorado. We usually go on a Colorado hiking trip in the late summer and just go through mostly through Rocky Mountain National Park. And a lot of the time when I'm walking through on those paths, I'm essentially just fantasizing about what it would be like to live in a world where your primary mode of transportation was walking from place to place, and how cool it would be for that walk through the mountains to like be your commute, or like, I'm going to go to the town next door. Like, now I'm going to go walk on this beautiful walk through the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also love just walking through the mountains and then finding like a cool rock formation and just like staring at that for a while, or going exploring, climbing around it, stuff like that. So just trying to capture that vibe was what I was really going for.
And is this the very first thing you ever put down on
This
paper?
is the first thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And would you say that
exoskeleton.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was just saying, I remember him describing this to me as like him kind of wearing an exoskeleton. And, yeah.
Yeah, because
It's
it's something like
wide-brimmed
a
hat
little
that,
survival
makes its
suit.
appearance again and again. Yeah.
Is this exoskeleton something that's like remained in the design of the characters?
It's something that Evan actually did some work on when we talked about like how to. I don't think we referenced this sketch at all, but we talked about there being kind of this harness suit that like allows you to hook more things onto your body as a ranger and carry them comfortably without having to put them all in a big pack.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some pretty cool concept sketches that Evan has done of that I really like. That things we were talking about putting into the art book.
Awesome.
Yeah, so like something like this will be in the art book amongst
for
some
sure.
of these other ones.
First sketch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that wide brim hat.
Thank you.
Does anybody
Thank
have that hat anymore in this game?
Oh, we got some wide brims for sure.
Okay.
And there's more to come.
Yes. No, there are more. You're totally right. There are more to come.
Now, can you take that off and throw it like a saw, like Raiden in Mortal Kombat or anything like that?
Use your imagination. Sure. Why not?
Okay, that's that imagination thing you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me write that down real quick.
How else did they build their log cabins?
Yeah, that's right.
They threw the hats. That's sick. That's awesome.
So then the next ones I thought I'd share are the first two Ranger sketches that I did. And these are sketches that I did for the first prototype that the Saddlers put together. Because they were using a bunch of like stuff that they pulled from the internet and nothing was quite right. So I was like, I feel like I want to get in more in playtesting so I can feel it better. So I did a couple of quick illustrations. So this is one of them that I've titled Ranger Bard.
Can you full screen that?
Yeah. How's that?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so
Another
cool.
pencil sketch in a lined diary.
Yep, I have a lot of those. I spent a lot of time doing drawings on lined paper and then going, why did I do that?
Oh, I can relate. Oh yeah, in the margins of worksheets in school.
Yeah,
My best art.
there's something about it I really enjoy though. I think working. I like to work in pencil, and like to work pretty small and delicately, oftentimes. And I like to work on lined paper. I don't know. There's something about it. I think it is maybe going back to that drawing in school where I spent so much time drawing during class, and listening. Still taking notes and listening, but while I wasn't writing down the important information, I'd be drawing pictures.
See, I never really got the hang of listening at the same time.
You got, you also have to study. You got to do those things.
I didn't believe in that.
Somehow I managed to graduate. I don't know how that happened. Living in that house we lived in senior year, did not have the best influences around me, but I did it.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. I was also the guy who complained about how filthy the house was, so you can imagine.
It was filthy.
It was filthy, but I didn't complain soon enough, so I was still a slob like everybody else. Yeah, so this guy, these scarves. So this guy has a bunch of scarves and plates and things, and I like to do a lot of radiating lines. So this character has a lot of radiating lines from a central point in his chest where he's got a clasp. And then I really like the idea of doing hoods. So I really love hoods and just more fabric. So I was kind of playing with the idea of kind of a collapsible hood mask thing that this guy's wearing, and then he has kind of a more standard pack with some fun jaunty feathers sticking out of it.
I love that.
I'll go back.
Well, we've talked about Death Stranding before, and I love that. I love the feeling of walking around with the rain, and you have this jacket that kind of. This reminds me of the gear in that game a bit.
Oh, sure.
If that influenced you at all?
I don't know if I'd played it yet.
Oh, I thought you talked about.
I did play it. I don't know if I played it by the time I made this. I might have.
Okay. Cool.
It's so hard to, people talk about their influences. I always try to be very clear that I'm influenced by so many things. I can't even remember what they all are.
Right.
And then I need to kind of see them again sometimes. Oh yeah, that's cool. That must have been where I got that idea.
I hear you.
So then, this is my other character that I drew up for that prototype, which is a character holding a kind of a tube with some pulling out a data core or something out of it, and she has these other tubes of the same kind of strapped to her back, kind of like a future librarian of sorts. And then she has this weird bird. Twin-tailed bird kind of hanging off of her left shoulder, and also has these scarf things. I love these little scarves and collars and things. The hood, the cloak that she's wearing. So this is the first idea. This is the first time where I really started thinking about the idea that Rangers all wore cloaks, and that wearing a cloak was kind of like a badge of honor for them. But this cloak and this hood is 100% influenced by G-Force or Gatchaman. That I loved that cartoon as a kid. I thought it was so cool. I went for Halloween as the main dude once.
Cool.
It was like a one of those old style costumes that was like a pattern for a costume, and then you needed to buy the fabric and then sew it.
Oh,
so my mom actually sewed this thing for me.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
You still have it?
She probably still has it. I don't know. She maybe still in the garage sale. She's not overly sentimental when it comes to objects. And then I was playing around with also. I think this one may have actually come before these Ranger ones, but it's kind of playing around with different looks, ideas for the Rangers. So this one's definitely before those other two. So this is when things were more kind of very sci-fi, almost like space exploration. I was thinking,
yeah,
where they're just like festooned, like head to toe with, completely covered, with, maybe only their eyes shown. So yeah, this one's very, very much more like high tech, almost like an alien planet explorer guy. But I didn't really like the scale here. I didn't really like this design a whole lot. So then I decided
his character
is
sitting within like a giant spider or creature.
He's like somehow like emerging from underneath a tree, like a tree root.
I see.
And then this creature is kind of like lurking behind him. But I really wanted, I really like big things, be the giant creatures, giant trees, giant structures, mountains, etc. I'm very into that type of thing. So I wanted to make this creature proportionally larger. So I changed it to this. So same creature, but then, made the explorers much, much smaller. You can also see it like a super early Earthborne logo here that I don't like at all. But I left it so everyone could see it.
I did like the mouth on the sketch that you did.
Oh yeah,
the monster a lot. Like that. I just noticed it now. Like that. It's like a small mouth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very, very weird.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I do like that.
I noticed that too. I liked it.
Yeah, that's very anime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also makes me think of the giant tentacle monster at the end of Watchmen, the comic book.
Oh yeah.
So then I did these little guys down here. So again, kind of imagining like what the Rangers would do. So this is a Ranger here and over here. They're kind of, again, very simplified, covered in head to toe. They're a little more fantastical, kind of a sci-fi fantasy look to them. And then they're escorting a couple researchers or, whatever they are in this floating bubble car through the dangerous terrain.
Their tiny size reminds. Do you guys remember these little action figures called Starcom? They're like little tiny action figures with like little magnets on their feet.
Oh yeah, yep, I remember those.
No, I don't remember those.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's spaceships and stuff too, right?
Yeah. For some reason, it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
They're so tiny, and then they had these giant vehicles and things. Anyway,
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so I still like, I really, this has kind of like become more of my preferred style of drawing these days, are these like super simplified characters, drawn really, really small. And then the last thing I wanted to share from the early stuff was this retro logo promo sketch thing that I did. I did like a colored kind of graphical version of this to, this is all done freehand. Did a graphical version of this, to make the logo, more precise and symmetrical. And then started to play around with, some of these objects down here, which are, so it's a character kind of standing triumphantly on on some kind of rock pile or a pile of refuse, with a globe of the Earth behind him, and then some other planetoids, or maybe the sun and the moon up above, and then a range of mountains beneath with some submerged buildings on the right hand side, and some buildings that are more surrounded by forest on the left.
You really can't go wrong with that composition. I'm always drawn to that, the triumphant hero. Usually there's like, some other characters, some female characters, and I'm glad you did not go that route.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Clinging to the lower leg.
Clutching the
It's very Star Wars.
Clinging to his leg. Yeah. I'm curious about the planets. What is that something that remains? Like the other moons or those?
Yeah, in the setting.
Yeah.
So here I was like, I was struggling with trying to put a sphere behind him, and then also have maybe these spheres connected to the logo. So I was like, what am I even doing here? So like, I was kind of thinking like, so in the color version, I kind of changed it up a little bit, and I think I only have like the one here. But it's a sketch. You're working things out.
Is Earthborne on Earth or the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but
Okay.
the Earthborne is more than just the Earth. Like it is, there are other things
Oh. Okay.
in the lore beyond Earth. But we'll start on Earth and see what happens.
So at this point in the sketching, is Joe also doing stuff, or is this all you?
That was mostly me. I think. Well, by the time I was doing those Rangers, Joe was also working on some stuff. But that early stuff is all me.
Awesome. I think let's move it over to show some of Joe's work.
Yeah.
Joe's early concepts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see here. In no particular order. Let's see. Yep. So this is one of my early Ranger sketches. More wide brim hats. But yeah, so when Andy had showed me like he had started on some Rangers, I just immediately started sketching out ideas and thinking. I know we talked about doing some bows and some energy bows and stuff like that. Early on, I think I thought like bows that were I don't know if you remember the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon where he would have pull back the bow and it'd be like a fire arrow or whatever that would shoot out or whatever.
Yeah.
Heavily inspired there, but I tried. He initially thought it's like he told me it's always their union with nature is important to a ranger. So like I tried to in all the ranger sketches I did, like try to incorporate some kind of nature within like their outfit or what they're doing. So this guy having this little bug hat, something like that.
Yeah, I love
that.
He seems. I don't know if he's grumpy about the bugs or if he's grumpy with the viewer. But it's great that he's accommodating them.
It's like, there's bugs in my hat. What of it?
Yeah, right.
If one more person tells me I have bugs in my hat, I'm going to lose it.
It's like, I know.
That's why he's pulling out the bow.
Right.
Yeah.
You asked
Lay
for
off
it.
me. They're not bees, though. Are they
and then-
bees?
I don't know. Just kind of some kind of insect, possibly some kind of future bee.
Yeah.
Future
And then he's
bees.
got food on the go. He's got honey right there.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Dripping
exactly.
down his head. Yeah.
You can command the swarm.
And then,
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
right.
All right. Do you want to
And
show
then
us
also
the
he
next-
like some little tools here in his outfit and whatnot.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, then here's a bear sloth that I had sketched out. I think this is an original, or it's an idea from that Andy thought of. There's some kind of bear sloth creature.
It was one of Sam's. It was one of Sam's ideas. Sam Stewart.
Was that one of Sam's?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. I remember there being a list of creatures. But yeah, I really the bear sloth idea I thought was a neat idea. So I really I like drawing monsters a lot.
Mhm.
Monsters are one of my favorite things to draw, I think. And this
I love
guy
this
with his
guy.
long sloth cloak.
What is the
Yeah.
scale on this bear
Pretty
sloth
fun.
guy?
I think he's bear sized,
Bear size?
Yeah, they're all.
more so than sloth.
Yeah, we try to.
Yeah.
I try to scale everything. Everything that can be big, I try to scale up just a little bit. But the art, which we showed the final art for this in a Kickstarter update, so you can go and check that out.
Yes. And that's
okay,
really
yeah.
But
cool.
I always try to imagine them as being, a little bit bigger than people today would be comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
And
would be pretty
I
terrifying.
also work a lot initially with pencils a lot.
Yeah, you did a lot of versions of this
1,000
bear
sketches.
sloth too. This is maybe version 5.
Oh yeah. I was going through a bunch of them, and I was like, some of them are really rough. I'm like, I can't show these. They're too rough.
I want to ask, so people have seen the final of this on the Kickstarter. I've seen it as well. So is that final? Are you doing that, Joe, or is that handed over to Evan? I'm curious about how that process goes.
That was Evan. Yeah. Yeah.
So Evan, you take the
Evan,
sketch and you.
Evan would take one of these and just. Yeah, go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, that's the way it's worked for a lot of the finished art, just because of the sheer volume that needs to get completed. So I take a lot of Joe's sketches and just go from there and ask questions and stuff.
Yeah, and I think, not just because it saves time, but also because they're good.
Yeah. It the final looks exactly like this. I recognize it immediately.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, there's a refinement that happens there, and we did that during when we were preparing for the Kickstarter as well. And I think Evan did one of the Kickstarter updates about our process on that. But we've carried over a lot of that, where Joe will do an initial sketch, hand it off to Evan, and then that process, it refines and then changes and then kind of fully comes to life. And it's I think it's really cool to help to help facilitate that process is really fun for me. And the work that I do is phenomenal.
One of my sketches, all the details and the anatomy, I'm like, oh, I'll leave it up to the imagination. Evan really nails it.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy when you have these like kick-ass compositions, and I don't really have to even worry about that. I just have to do line work on top. So you make it easy.
Yeah, it's been great working with Evan. But yeah, well, here we go. Next, and this is one of the Branch Village sketches I did. We had talked about the Rangers would shape trees into their houses and basically, morph the wood of the tree into a building. And this is one of the early sketches I did of the Branch Village.
Yeah,
I think I've got another one here later on too.
You did a few of these, and this one I really, really love.
Yeah,
it just has this great combination of future, classic sci-fi architecture somehow, and if you imagine it all being made out of wood, that's just super cool.
Yeah, immediately I'm wondering, how did they shape the roots of that tree to spiral like that? Did they have a hand in shaping them like a bonsai or something?
Yeah,
it's very
more
evocative.
Yeah, it's essentially they use their conduits, their special tools that allow them to literally shape reality. So they can take the physical matter and then bend it with their mind.
So you're talking about magic.
But it's not magic, it's technology.
Yeah.
It's just
right.
Technology.
I'm still trying to figure this out. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And I also I like really drawing trees a lot. I've drawn quite a few trees for this project.
You have.
They're
really great trees.
Yeah.
Evan and Joe, two guys that love drawing trees. And
I also love drawing trees.
Wow. 3 out of 4 of us love drawing trees.
And
maybe you're just not
probably
drawing
don't love it as much as you guys do.
What's that?
Maybe I probably don't love it as much as you guys do.
Yeah.
You're really good at it, though.
Thanks.
Maybe you're just not drawing the right trees.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I remember one of my college professors when he took us out and on the OU campus, and there's lots of great trees there, and he would tell us, when you're drawing a tree, excuse me, imagine how the tree looks and how the tree grows, and if you understand how the tree grows, and you can just draw a tree, draw an oak tree because you already know how the oak tree grows and everything. So that kind of lesson he taught me really stuck with me.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
And here's an early, one of our early structures that I did for a desert town. And then this little spider crawly monster thing, or mechanical riding beast. I'm not sure. Yeah, I really like this rock structuring. I do like this spider thing.
I love it. It looks like
this is kind of inspired by that bubble that you had drawn in one of your sketches, I think. Yeah. Definitely
looks like when you stack rocks, you're trying to balance the rocks. It kind of looks like that, the rock formation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Probably built with
kind of imagine
that magic technology. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Joe, please.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah. And some of the stuff I don't even know what it is, like these spikes on here on the rocks. I just kind of drew those in there as kind of interesting little tidbits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can figure it out
I
later.
like the imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
let the
fun
imagination decide what that is.
That's the fun part about your sketches is like when you hand them off to me, a lot of it is there's a lot of details that I'm just like, well, here we go. I'm gonna make this into a thing. Try to figure out what it does.
Yeah, it's great. And here's one of the puffer crawlers initial sketches I did for this. There's a bunch of these as well. These creatures that roll through the forest and change the DNA of creatures.
Nasty.
Again, more trees. Yeah, nasty creatures.
So it looks like a puffer ball that's suspended between some trees with some webby looking kind of spires. What is it made out of?
Yes, the idea is like it travels through the forest and like rolls and like the spikes attach into things, and like, as it keeps rolling, it like attaches into other things.
Yeah.
Spikes fall off.
Yeah, it's a fungus.
Yeah.
Yeah. How fast?
Moves very slowly.
Very slowly. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought anyway. I don't know.
It definitely. Like things get caught in it and become catatonic. They don't die, and it's not necessarily bad for them, but it's also not great.
Okay.
Yeah. And then let's see here. Oh, and this is one of the fishing village sketch I had drawn. I've done several of these as well. But this idea that this was a previous structure that these people had built a fishing village underneath of and repurposed it into their own means as opposed to what it used to be for. So this little like village that's underneath these umbrella-like structures and this lake.
So they're not fishing anymore, or it is now?
It is now, but perhaps previously that's not what it was used for. But yeah, I try to combine these old world and new world, like fishing out of this futuristic structure. But,
yeah, I think it's really cool. I really like all the fishing lines and things like hanging from it from all angles.
Yeah, and these little lures on the lines or whatever. Yeah.
Is this in the final game, or is this something that made it through? I love that.
It will, yeah. We have a. I mean, this is the town of White Sky, so that is one of the locations you can visit, and we have a. Joe did an inked version of this that may make its way into the final, or we might recommission it from someone else to finish off, but it'll be based on this look for sure.
There is an icon on the map
really
for White Sky Lake that has this on it. So
yeah.
Very cool.
I love the smaller parasols on top. Sorry.
Yeah. I like to think of them like crawling through the structure and sitting on top as well. And drying their fish out
love
or whatever.
That.
And then another tree, a giant tree among smaller trees. I really like this. I had a lot of fun with this one, drawing all the roots and branches and.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Just a bunch of fun.
I don't know if that tree is still in the game, but it's not. We'll find a home for it somewhere someday.
You gotta.
It was from an earlier version in the scenario that we had that were kind of centered around this tree. I don't know. I don't know if it's still in there or not. It might be.
Cool. And then another drawing of a branch village, our previous drawing with a flying vehicle in it. Another reimagining of this, but below more of a structure almost like a hobbit hole, I guess.
Yeah,
leading into the tree.
Yeah, I really like this interpretation of Lone Tree and the hanging gardens here. That's something that Evan took over into the final. Almost exactly, and it's interesting that the Ranger flying vehicle here that you drew is kind of bug-like, given where it ended up. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It reached out from the past to influence the design.
Yeah.
Man, I would just love to play there when I was a kid. Like that's what all these things remind me of, like my dream forts when I was a child.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely try to reach back to that childhood of building tree houses, which I never did, but
Right.
would always want to.
Yeah, it's a bit
We
of
all
like
have a treehouse in our mind, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of that
Yeah, the
Neverland.
grand tree house that just ended up being a plank of wood. Yeah.
Right. I know.
And here's another plant scavenger guy. I had a initial idea of him gathering plants and then putting them on his back as he went around gathering plants in a futuristic basket.
And Joe, this guy is gonna become a character in the game. I just included this sketch in an art brief for a character.
Oh, awesome!
That an artist is
Oh, that's
do.
great.
So
Oh, that's so good. I'm excited about that. That's great.
I'm really excited to see how they interpret all your details and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be great. Another wide brim hat there.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I really love all the like he's got cacti and stuff and weird things on his back. Yeah, I remember I remember seeing this for the first time and just be like, whoa, that's not at all what I was thinking at all, but I love it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he knows how to use them. He or she.
Yeah.
Get it all.
this fun little sketch that I had some watercolors to. I had thought about like having these prostheses that they would attach to their arms and stuff. This definitely did not make it into the game. But this is a fun little sketch. And I like the watercolors on it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this woman with this giant crab claw and a kind of like a crab carapace shield knocking over a chair and some food and someone else. Like,
Kind of tavern brawl happening.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
And then she has these boots on that have these I don't know, like balancers on them to balance off the weight of the crab
Yeah,
claw.
you
Nice.
need it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you want to
I have
have
a-
characters with giant crab claws in the game? What was your
You know,
thinking there?
I think you could, just not yet. Not yet.
Not yet?
It could exist somewhere in the world. I don't know when we'll get to where the crab claw hand people are, but
Like a sect, yeah, like a cult that's kind of hidden away somewhere. We discover.
Yeah.
You have to cut off your arm and replace it with a crab
yeah,
claw.
people who survived by meshing their biology with crabs.
Oh, like those
Yeah.
characters, those aliens from Voyager. Or was it Deep Space Nine? I think it was Voyager.
Which ones
Never
were
mind.
those?
They
I'm trying to remember that.
they had to constantly graft tissue from other
Oh yeah,
alien
those
species.
guys.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they were like necrotic. They were all like they had like a disease that was
Oh.
incurable, and they needed to cut off their diseased
they-
flesh and replace it with other people. They're such ugh.
Harvest other people's flesh. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
See-
difficult.
Joe, with this, I thought that she was just wearing like a crab sleeve, and it was like somehow living,
Oh, okay.
and then it would like be preserved when she wasn't using it.
Oh
Put
sure.
it in a tank or something.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So she's
Yeah.
kind of like steering it from the inside.
Yeah, like there's some sort of, I don't know, merging of nerve endings or
That's
something
interesting.
I feel
temporarily.
like it's
I don't know.
slimy in there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, she's just holding on to
Yeah.
like the ligaments and stuff. And just
Yeah.
like a puppet.
No,
Yep.
kind of like Battlestar
Oh,
Galactica.
God.
Starbuck was driving the ship by pulling on.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
And she
that's
stuck
right.
like her shirt in a hole and then flew into space, and somehow the ship didn't decompress.
Space shirt. Yeah.
You don't know what those
special.
shirts are made of, Evan.
It was a rag or something.
Yeah. She probably smeared something on there. All right. And then here's more puffer crawlers, some more sketches. I think this one ended up being more of a finalized drawing, the one from the view from the
Mhm.
forest floor looking up. as if a ranger's walking past and looks up and sees these cover crawlers in the tops of the trees.
Terrifying sight.
Going through. Yeah.
There's nothing to fear, though,
And then
if you see them.
over
So
here on the
slow.
left, we see it.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah. You just don't want to bump into one of the tendrils because then that's over.
Catatonic.
That's game over for you.
Jason
these-
Voorhees was slow too, but look what happened to all those camp counselors.
That's right.
That's right.
They had a great time.
I think
Yeah.
we have a little deer hanging off one of these tendrils down up in the top of
Oh,
the left
okay.
here.
Yeah, there's one over there too.
Terrifying.
Kind of a. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then here's another ranger sketch I did with the buzzsaw staff.
Yeah, this was a concept
cool.
of a shaper.
Right.
So he's
So like they would take apart technology or whatever.
yeah, like with their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More flowing robes.
I think this outfit inspired the Kesey Voss design too, if I remember correctly,
Cool.
when I designed
cool.
that character.
Yeah. I started trying to put these little like patterns in here, just as ideas, like what the Rangers would have. Here's another Ranger, more like kind of like the where the face is all covered with technology, but I think we went farther away from that. But yeah, the first iteration of the spider pad gloves here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Gas mask. This is more Mad Maxy, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to break yourself of those break not you specifically, but break oneself of those preconceived notions of what
Mhm.
the far future looks like, because we've watched all of those movies, played all those games.
Yeah, and I think it was important that you said, like, this is like an optimistic look at the future, and not like a depressing, Mad Max style
Yeah,
look at the future.
Everyone's wearing rebreathers.
right. Things aren't fun. Right.
That reminds me,
People,
Andrew, I was going to mention one of the artists asked me what the setting should be called, and they asked if it was solar punk. And I said, I'm not sure. I'll ask Andrew. And what did you call it?
So solar punk is a term I heard also from our German partner Frosted Games when they were talking about it. We talked about it a little bit on an interview I did with them on a live stream. And solar punk, I think, based on what I've seen, it focuses a lot on like glittering glass buildings, kind of festooned with greenery, kind of like taking, extreme modern glass building architecture and then, merging it with plants. A lot of the stuff that you see in like concept artwork for office complexes kind of made manifest. But I'd always kind of thought of it as like at least tonally closer to hope punk, which is a term that Dan Clark at FFG introduced me to, which is kind of how we were kind of describing the story of Descent, third edition. Descent: Legends of the Dark. When we were concepting the story for that, where I didn't want this feeling of the heroes will not succeed. Oh, the world's going to come to an end regardless. Kind of like the idea behind like Warhammer 40K, where like nothing matters, like humanity is doomed. And Hope Punk is kind of flies in the face of that and says, no, you can actually act and create change, and achieve a positive outcome, even in a dark time. So I felt more of akin to that kind of thematically than anything, but it's all just shorthand to help describe it for people who know what those things mean. Ultimately, you can play it and you can draw your own conclusions as to what genre or subgenre you feel Earthborne Ranger should fall.
And what is Ponchopunk?
It's a great term, I'll tell you that much.
Ponchopunk, yeah. That is another artist working on this game, Chris Beck, who is a good friend of mine and used to work at FFG as well. He's a stellar comic book artist, and he's been working on this game, doing the art, he floated that idea to me, and I said I would mention it. Ponchopunk.
Pretty good. It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
There are lots of ponchos.
It's a lot.
That's true.
Yeah,
Hmm.
heavy in ponchos. I think I listened to the first episode of the podcast, and I think this character was mentioned. This
Yeah.
person with the globular head, and then
Oh.
not sure where this came from. It looks very much like a kind of a Spaceballs character. Upon reflection,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I like the nose.
okay. I've always kind of like I've always kind of liked this character.
Mhm.
I really like the collar too, how the collar flares out to like accommodate the
Yeah,
spherical helmet.
It kind of
really
looks
cool.
like the clown of Earthborne Worlds.
Yeah.
Could be.
Very sad
Yeah.
clown.
Yeah, the jester. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Go see Palachi.
nobody has a sense of humor anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, this is another Ranger idea. Definitely inspired by the hooded here that
Hmm.
Andy drew in his one of his sketches there.
Mhm.
That anime inspired hood. But yeah, this one I think is very similar to one Evan did recently. But yeah,
Well, because I directly literally referenced that sketch of yours to make this character. And it turned out to be my favorite piece. So I can't wait for it to be revealed.
Yeah, it's awesome. We'll
Yeah,
be
that
revealing
looks
it
great.
pretty soon here in the next month or so, along with the other
it's really great.
new Ranger role pieces.
And then yeah, another Ranger, another scarf.
Another Ranger, another scarf.
Another
I think this
poncho.
is some kind of locator device or GPS device it has in its hand, like finding out where a location of something is. But yeah,
Mhm.
another Wyvern
Yeah.
attack guy. Yeah, I try to put more of these Rangers in different activities or whatever. This guy pulling stuff out of a pouch and scarf covering most of his face to make it easy to draw.
Mhm.
Um,
This one always reminds me of Magic Man from Adventure Time.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now that's a reference I know.
Here's a drawing I did of a shepherd with the flock and the dog with the robo vest.
Oh yeah,
I really like this one quite a bit.
Yeah.
The way it came out.
yeah. This
I
one's
love
awesome.
You know, looking through all of these, it really reminds me of the kind of stuff that I loved to draw when I was a kid. And it's so cool that you guys are like making a career out of this and like, you know, turning it into like final, like badass artwork. Kind of reminds me of last week's Hero Guys that Evan and I were looking at. This is like the end result of people who have like seen it through. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And I thought like the shepherds out here, you know, probably bored braiding her horse's
Yeah.
mane and tail
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and stuff. And, yeah.
Those sheep are really nice. I like, and the grass, man, this is a good one.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I'm really happy with this one.
Yeah.
Joe, I don't know if you saw the sheepdog art, but I referenced that vest almost
Oh, nice.
as best I could. Like I turned those two circular things into like these sensor pod things, and it's just fun
Yeah,
to
totally.
interpret
It's
these
awesome.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think this little structure back here was an interpretation of one of the
Yeah.
like a carrying case you had or something
Yeah.
that you had drawn.
It was like
You
a
had drawn bunch of them.
power
Yeah,
conductor or something.
I was doing
Power cell.
early sketches of universal power cells, and I was thinking there were these large things you had to hulk around, but Andrew looked at them and like, these are cool, but I was thinking universal power cells are like small little cards or like USB sized things that can hook up to anything. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I blatantly stole it and put it in
Yeah.
here. So.
But I also said at the time, like, that would be a great building. And we should just use it for that.
Yeah.
And then last year's another just White Sky Lake drawing I did with the people on stand-up paddleboards out here.
Nice. So that lasts, that fad.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Evan is a big paddleboard enthusiast, you guys, in case you didn't know.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't know. Are you,
No,
Evan?
I'm not.
Yeah, but those are a lot of old sketches. Probably the newest one is that one with the shepherd and the dog, but most of those are pretty old from the beginning of this.
Very cool to see.
Awesome.
Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing, Joe.
Hey, sure.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it to the show. And we're going to look at Evan's stuff.
Sure.
Moving right along. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, do you want to do Evans, or do you want to look at the style stuff first?
Sure. Whatever you take the lead here.
Yeah, let's do Evans after, so we can stay chronological.
Okay,
I think
for sure.
This part is the nice ramp up to show where Joe and I were before Evan arrived, like Prometheus with fire and helped us finalize everything.
Yeah.
All right, so Joe and I worked on this project for about a little over a year before Evan joined, and a lot of that time was me speculating as to what we were going to do for the art, how we were going to get it done, who was going to do it, and what style it would be. And I spent a lot of time thinking about that, and that also involved a lot of Joe trying things out, and then I could come to him and say, "Oh, Joe, I think I'd like to do the art, with watercolors. Let's see what that looks like." And so then he did this, and it was awesome. I remember when I saw this piece, I was just filled with joy. Like there's something about physical media that like really captures things in a way that digital just can't. Which is kind of my thinking going this direction. I saw this. Oh, I loved it. It was so cool. But then this, like other styles, I'd spend time thinking about it, and then I'd be like, and I'd change my mind. I'd be like, okay, let's try this. And then we'd do some stuff, and then I'd think about it some more, and then I'd be like, okay, Joe, I'm going to change it one more time.
Yeah.
And we did that so many times. So this was one of the styles we were considering doing. This was an idea that Joe did as kind of like this was the idea of an arcology, kind of like a living building. So that was really, really cool. So this is also along those same lines. This started as a sketch. I shared this sketch in one of the Kickstarter updates during the campaign that I did of this plant creature that I then passed off to Joe to ink, and then he painted it and did a couple different versions of it. So this is, I think, a good example of like how you can see us moving toward where we eventually ended up. Having these hardline inks in there. And this also felt like something that seemed pretty accomplishable at the time. And then I had this idea like, oh, I really want to do observational sketches in the campaign guide. I want to have all these observational sketches. So I was really inspired by these cool like ink observational sketches I saw. Like they're kind of like turn of the century, like early 20th century, late 19th century ink drawings. So then I was like, hey, Joe, try that. So we did this, he did this drawing where, it imagines, I gave him a bunch of different like thumbnails, ideas that I had for things I thought we could see, but imagining that there's an artist in the world that's going around and observing, and this is their drawing. So you're seeing like literally what an artist from the future would be seeing in front of them. And I still really like that idea. We might do something with it at some point, because I think this is really fun space to play in. But we have so many pieces of art to do that like extra little flourishy pieces of art are definitely a luxury. So I don't think we'll have stuff like this in the game. But I really like this a lot. But this also ended up turning, there is an artist in the game that you can encounter. And she's cool. And she'll give you something awesome if you help her out.
And this might be a piece that you made.
Yeah, maybe.
Really cool.
So then this is another one that's kind of like more back in the basic direction that we ended up going. So if you remember the one of the big monster with the guys in the glass orb, this is a similar style to that. So very simplified rangers, almost toy-like you were describing, Anders. Again, thinking maybe we should go this direction. I really like this, but I feel like stuff like this is maybe more suited to like a board game than a massive card game.
I think it's a really cool thought, though. Like it really emphasizes the grandness of the world opposed to the characters themselves.
Yeah, that's a lot of the drawings I do are that. There's like tiny characters in vast landscapes.
I like that. Like in the tree all the way to the left, it has some kind of almost like a creature inside there.
Yeah,
like a snake.
Or something.
Yep, some kind of weird animal. It's like this guy sees it and he's like, "Oh, hey, hold up."
Oh yeah, right.
And this guy's oblivious. Talk to me. I got this giant thing on my back. And then I had an idea, again, just in pursuit of trying to do something that was different, to do this kind of graphical look, where, combining pencil sketches with like simple coloration and then textures. So this is an experiment. I don't really remember what drove me to this.
I think I do remember.
Oh yeah.
You had read Miss Marvel.
Oh yeah.
And there was a lot of this and that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You are 100% correct. Yeah.
I can't believe I remember something.
Thank you, Joe. I've totally forgotten that. Yeah, I love the art in the original Ms. Marvel comic. Well, not the original. The first Kamala Khan series. That artist is so good. And it's all, just kind of like dressed up pencil work. His stuff's way better than this. And then, if you remember that ranger with that character with all the stuff on his back, I did I don't know if I did this. No, Joe, you did this inked version. This is when we were considering doing some. Oops, that's not what I want. Doing ink drawings with highlight colors. And going in this direction.
Limited palette.
Yeah. Where the colors would be determined by the card set in which it appeared. We're going to have some commonalities between card sets in a few of the art pieces for sure, mostly with backgrounds and stuff. But this was again, trying to think of how are we going to do all the art? This is before the Kickstarter or anything, so I had no idea what resources we'd have. So I was like, man, I don't know. We might have to do all this artwork ourselves. So it was trying to think of like how to, again, simplify it and do something that was achievable. And I can't even fathom how I could ever thought we could do that art ourselves. But that's where my mind was when we were working on this. And then I took that further and then did this version. Which is again, trying to do everything with extremely limited color palette, and then seeing what happened. So, illustrating this was really fun because I, picked my color palette and I was like, all right, this is all I've got, and it helped me make some interesting choices. Especially, inverting some of the lighting to use the highlight colors as a main body color. I thought that was really cool, and I wouldn't have done that without putting that limitation on myself. So that was fun, even though we didn't ultimately go that direction.
Limitations are great. This is my favorite wide-brimmed hat, I think.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I really like the drawing of it in the previous slide.
Yeah, and then I think we did a few of them in this style, and this is really ultimately the direction that we, ended up going, which is again kind of these hard lines with more kind of like blocked in colors, and then you add Evan, and then it also has gorgeous lighting and really finely detailed line work, and, all the things that make it look like a final complete piece.
Evan, were you on board at this time, or did you come upon this style and then think, Evan, he's the guy for the job?
Exactly. That's precisely where I started looking at Evan's stuff. I had been followed, so I've told this story before, but I as soon as I left FFG, I knew I wanted to work with Evan again, as soon as I possibly could. So, but I didn't really realize, when I had those thoughts, I'd mostly worked with Evan as in a graphic design capacity, and knew that, he had a great eye, extremely talented, and did a lot of awesome, like fine detail illustrative work, in the context of graphic design. But I really didn't know that he was such an amazing illustrator until I started following him on Instagram after leaving the company. And I was really enjoying his work. And then I think that fall, you posted like this really awesome illustration of kind of like a Frankenstein's monster trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
And
a Frankenstein dressed as a Frankenstein for Halloween.
It's great. It's an awesome illustration. And that, for some reason, that illustration was the one that I was like, this Evan might just be the right guy to do this. So yeah, that last one that I just showed, that was probably done maybe like 3 months before Evan came on board. But yeah, so as soon as my contractual obligation to not solicit employees ran up, that day, I reached out to Evan and was like, "Hey, I can talk to you now. Would you like to come and do this cool thing?" And he said yes, and it was amazing. I didn't even have to convince him. It was fantastic.
I love it. Yeah. Evan,
yeah, it's been a year. I meant to, like the last podcast was your 1 year anniversary. I was going to say happy anniversary. Right. So happy anniversary.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing. I can't believe it's been a year.
I know, it flew by so fast.
Evan, do you want to show us some of your stuff?
Searching around.
Sure, yeah.
As we're talking about you?
Oh,
yeah.
I'm trying to find your Frankenstein, but I don't think you have it on your Instagram anymore.
It should be there. And I feel like, Andrew, I think maybe the reason why that resonated with you is because it probably looked similar to like one of the approaches you were going for.
Oh, sure.
Even though we've kind of strayed from that a little bit.
I think the expressions on the characters' faces in that piece are also phenomenal. Like that storytelling there was great, and done with so little. It's awesome.
I love it. I've never seen this one. I like what you captioned it. You say, well, it's a picture of Frankenstein trick-or-treating with a Frankenstein mask with his finger crossed behind his back. And your caption says, "I'll get back to making robot guys tomorrow." So you knew you were straying from the usual.
Can you share that? I'd like to see it.
Yes,
that was
I'll share it.
That was during
sharing.
Inktober. Yeah, I was during Inktober, and I was trying to make like every single day be a Mega Man boss of my own creation, and I just got burned out on it. So I made Halloween related stuff, and then people liked those more than the Mega Man things I was making. So.
Yeah.
It's pretty small on my screen, so I think if I shared it, it would be kind of hard to see.
Oh,
okay.
You can go to Evan's Instagram and find it.
I'm putting
Yeah,
the
for sure.
I'm putting the link in the chat, Joe, if you want to look at it yourself.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, let's look at Evan's art.
Yeah, so when I came on like a year ago, one of the first pieces I did was when we were still trying to figure out what the style of the game would be, was going to be like a promotional piece / box art for the game, and it was going to feature the biggest settlement in the valley, which is Spire. And I was what really resonated with the themes of the game are what Andrew has already touched on, like the gargantuan scale of things. So my initial thought was like these rangers are taking a moment in their adventure across this immense toppled over tree to like survey the land and look out over the valley and stuff. And this is before I even knew like what the geography of the valley was. And so this is probably one of the earliest sketches. And we ended up going with a slightly different composition for what was seen in the Kickstarter as the box art for the core game, but that will actually change going forward. Let's see here. If I can... There we go. This is an early concept piece, I guess, of one of the Rangers, which became one of the artificers. And they're holding, or they have on their arms like these spider pad gloves. And this is kind of just a style test to run past Andrew. And this piece basically started me in the direction of where all the final art is now.
Mm-hmm.
But on the way to that, I was really like inspired by a lot of sketches that Joe was doing and Andrew. So, one thing like I'm like a shortcoming I have that I'm just in awe of with Joe's sketches and Andrew's sketches is these just super imaginative like buildings and things. And I look at like this one, I'm just like, gosh, I don't know if I could ever come up with something this cool. So I just want to share like this is such a cool building.
Well, thank you, Evan.
Yeah. And
that's kind of cool. It kind of speaks to like the way you guys synergize or whatever the word is. You know, Evan, you've got these are very refined opposed to the other like cool, like loose sketches that you guys had. I've always been intimidated by concept art, thinking that I have to have this kind of like really polished painterly refinement to everything. But like, it's right there in the title. It's all about your ideas and your concepts. So
yeah,
it's cool to see how Joe brings the ideas and Andrew, and then Evan, that's your talent is to refine it. So
yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah. Just the way Evan, also the way you treat clothing and like light, it's amazing. Like it's always amazes me. So
whenever I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm probably looking at the folds in their sleeves.
Or
something.
I've wondered that about you. I have when I happen to notice that, I'm like, oh, I bet Evan is like constantly looking at this stuff. He's just so good at that stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
It's just interesting. I don't know.
Totally. I remember commenting to Rachel last summer, like sitting outside. It was like a beautiful day, and I was just like hanging out there, just looking at the trees and looking at the way that the light hits things, and commenting to her as like, working with Evan has really made me like look at things differently and try and actually notice the way that light is hitting objects.
Same here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love. I think weirdly enough, when I started using Blender, which is like a super awesome free open source 3D software program that I recommend everyone should try, that having that sort of environment really allowed me to play with light, even though you can play with light in reality. But having that like environment where I can just create all these light sources and see how light bounces and stuff like that, that's been really helpful. So in a weird way, an artificial environment has informed my creative process.
Oh no. I'm sure many people do that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another sketch that Andrew did. This one is, what is this called again? A toxin eater. And this is just another example of how inspiring like these sketches were to me, because I couldn't come up with something like this myself. So to be able to realize it more fully in like a finished piece of art is super fun, and it just helps me like generate ideas and start constructing my own library of elements to pull when I'm creating these new things, new creatures and stuff like that. So it's neat.
Is that a little
fence.
ranger there underneath his snout? Is that what that is?
Looks like it.
It's a little skeleton, like
Okay.
it's a dead
Could be a
somebody.
bear sloth.
Yeah, could be a ranger.
That's awesome.
So I'm using a hotkey to
great.
tab through all these open documents, and I know that I've already tested this as we were talking. So I know Anders' piece is going to come up next, even though it's not supposed to. So
Okay.
I'd like to introduce Anders' amazing contribution to this game. It's a creature called the Opilion Spider, and here it is.
Hell yeah.
So
Oh, nice.
this is something Anders did, and it's really amazing. And he and I went back and forth on the lighting and stuff, and but it all came down to like the cool design you came up with.
Thanks. And to be clear, Evan did the amazing background. Those are those trees that I don't like drawing.
But that's a process that I'm trying to make this pipeline for art where a number of commission pieces are just foreground elements, and then I have these backgrounds that I'm incorporating them into. And I think this is a good example of it working pretty well.
This
And
looks
Evan, you did-
phenomenal.
Have you seen it, Andrew? Yeah, I love how you've incorporated it with the lighting, the kind of soft glow around there. You like, it looks like the whole thing was done by one artist.
That's the hope.
That's the goal.
I know there'll be other examples that aren't as strong as this, but
Oh man, it was
this is
so
a good
it was so exciting seeing like what you did. Because I just did the spider, and even like when you placed it in the card, so cool.
yeah, it looks cool in the card for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, just to give the people a little insight into how it goes really quick, I what I did at first, there was so many elements that weren't there yet. Andrew looked at it, did some doodles on top of what I had done, put those little spikes on his thorax or whatever you call the abdomen, the big bulbous thing in the background. And I just love how when I sent it to you the first time, I was feeling like this is the shit right here. This is gonna blow them away. And then what you guys changed, I'm like, oh man, mine that was only like half as good as it could be. So I love that that teamwork's. At first you're like, come on, this is great. You have that little bit of pride, but in the end, it's so much cooler than it would have been.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we've all experienced in art school and stuff like that. It's cool to know that you can go beyond what you are already satisfied with, and
right. And could you ever really do that without other people? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think it's hard. I think that's having someone else there who pushes you to do more is really important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like you said, Anders, you do it. You're like, yeah, that's badass. And I've done plenty of drawings like that. That if I were to show it, do it for an art director, and they'd be like, change this, change that. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
But
it's like being disarmed.
Right.
Yeah.
Disarmed by a master fencer or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And sometimes, you try, it can make your ego can be like, but it was so good. But yeah, if you let that go, you can really make some cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think the next one here is an early sketch I did. Yeah. So this is an early sketch of, inspired by Andrew, your sketch of the ranger that has the hood and the bird-like kind of, I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah, those head shield things that characters have.
Yeah, the Gachamon thing, and I just thought that would be kind of a cool feature that maybe the rangers had. It was a commonality between them, some sort of head shield. And I don't know if that'll actually become a thing or not, but at least 2 rangers have those.
Yeah,
so.
More than that, I think. Yeah, a couple of them.
3, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that scepter type thing she's holding is my early interpretation of a what do you call it? Conduit. Thank you. So, I was trying to make essentially like a technology-based staff that channels energy or something. Yeah, and then going forward, here's a piece by one of the artists that we commissioned. Her name's Robin Fran, and she did 4 pieces for us. I shared one last week. This one is a character named Kassendi, and they're like this kind of not a rogue, but a loner, best hunter in the valley. And when I wrote the art brief, I showed a bunch of pictures of the technology of the valley to Robin, and she took inspiration from the device known as the adaptable multi-tool to embellish the rifle. It's not really a rifle. It's called a whisper crack darter, and it shoots these crossbow bolts like pieces like arrows without the fletching. So that I thought this is a really cool example, and it integrates really well with one of the backgrounds I made because of the lighting she was able to achieve with the dappled sunlight coming through like the upper canopy of a wooded area. So I haven't been able to integrate this into a background yet, but my early efforts look really, really good so far. So she did an amazing job with this one.
And the pop of that white buckle in the center is just so smart.
Yeah.
On the cape there.
So this fabric is so diffuse that it's not reflecting as strongly as this metallic.
Oh yeah, this is like master level here.
yeah, it's super cool. I'm hoping that she can do more work for us.
The like butt of the gun, like what do you call it? The where the gun hits your shoulder.
Yeah, the
stock. It reminds me of that very first drawing you did, Andrew.
Oh,
it looks like they have like it kind of has the same kind of shape. Just in there.
Yeah, you're right. It does. Yeah, and let's see. So here's a piece by an artist named Jia Zhang, and it's a scene in the what's called the Whispering Fields, which is this swath of land that's surrounding a town called Meadow, and there's like these crazy tall fields of grass where creatures and predators and any number of things can hide and jump out at travelers. So if rangers are traveling to and from areas that pass through the Whispering Fields, there are mechanics in place to I guess, Andrew, you'd be better answering this, but...
Can you zoom in, Evan?
you can explain it. Or if you want me to explain it, I can.
Sure, yeah.
Mechanically. Yeah, so this is a feature when it comes into play. What it does is make it so when you draw cards off the path deck, they're attached to this face down, and you need to take the time to try to find the things in the grass before you can interact with them. And sometimes it can spit things out and they can ambush you.
Yeah.
So it's in your best interest to be proactive and search through the grass for what might be there before it finds you.
Yeah. And Jia Zhang has by far created the most art for us, and he's doing
been great.
Just an amazing job.
Yeah, he's been
so
great.
Cool.
This piece is so like evocative. It's like it's to get the fear of what's in the grass and like also like the warmth of the sunshine. It's just I love it.
Yeah. Let's see what's next here because I forgot. Oh yeah. So here's a character named Silo. Silo. And this is by an artist. Oh boy,
Allie Presswick.
Allie Presswick, thank you. Yeah, I was going to check out the file name. Yeah, Allie Presswick has been doing a lot of character art for us too, and she does work for FFG. She worked on Champions, Marvel Champions, and I believe X-Men Mutant Insurrection.
Mhm.
And that's when I first became familiar with her work, because I was still working at FFG when I was seeing her art, having worked on Champions. And so I reached out to her, and she was gratefully like available and excited about the project. And she's made 5 pieces so far, and she's got a handful more. And this is one of my favorites. He's just kind of a stinker of a character. if you can't
Comes
tell.
across. Yeah.
And I'm really excited to find out what interacting with him is like when I play the game.
Mhm. Well,
Also wearing
Yeah.
a poncho.
Yep. Staying true to the Ponchopunk theme.
Right. A lot of stinkers in this game. Evan, you showed me another stinker last
shoot.
week.
Here's a stinker too. This one has apparently been trouble for the early playtesters. There's something about unbeatable.
It was just
Cloud
like,
Hive?
your life is this now. There's
Yes.
nothing you could do about it. It was pretty brutal.
So this is the Cloud Hive swarm. Or no, I'm sorry, not the swarm. It's the Cloud Hive
This
itself.
is the Cloud Hive, yeah.
And I just imagined like this hovering half spherical shape made of whatever material bees use to make their nests.
Did you design this
And
one, Evan?
There's yeah.
Okay.
There's supposed to be an indication of a heat glow coming from the top. I don't know how well it comes across, but the idea is that all the combined effort of these bees are generating the heat to levitate this thing, and the entry and exit points on the bottom side of the Cloud Hive are basically like the exhaust ports that are the method of propulsion. And
Wow.
it's just this super light papery thing that floats around and causes chaos.
Yeah, it's another one of Sam's concepts. I'm not sure where he came up with it, but it's awesome.
I'm excited to see this because when you told me I could do some art for the game, you had given me the option to do this, and I was intimidated by it. I had no idea how to handle it.
I didn't want to do it
It's
either.
cool to see. Yeah.
I was intimidated by it too.
Yeah. It's cool though. I like what you did.
Thank you. I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's
That's a lot of
What
art.
else?
We looked at a lot of art.
We looked at a
Um,
lot of art, guys. I hope that the viewers switched over to the visual format.
Yeah, hopefully, it'd be interesting to, listen to the audio version and then come back and look at the images and see how much it lined up with the images that were conjured in your mind as we
Right.
discussed them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so everybody, listen to this
Let's do it twice.
episode twice. Yeah. Did we want to show some final stuff, or was that it?
That was final stuff, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
But I think we've gone pretty long. So I don't know
We've gone long.
if we want to wrap, if we want to do the these are the things we're doing, or if we want to wrap it up. What do you think?
Let's just say what we did, not talk about them. Just list them. maybe we'll say it and then we'll talk about it next time. No, I think we've done a bunch today.
Yeah.
I think the listeners and the viewers have gotten their fill. I hope you have. Is there anything you guys want to say about the art, or any last parting words you need to get in?
Yeah, I would just say that it's been awesome to work on it, and a true joy, and I've enjoyed every moment of the process, even the early parts where I was struggling to determine what direction to take. And it's just a lot of fun. Like it's easily one of the most fun things I get to do every day is to work with Evan and Joe on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having it all, to having the core set all done. And we'll be doing art for this game for a very long time if all goes
Mhm.
according to plan. So I'm really excited to, get the core set done, and then, to see where the art goes next, because I worked on a lot of games with a lot of art that have had, many years of art go into them, and where the art ends up is rarely where it begins. So I'm really excited to see the journey that the art goes on over the years.
Well, I feel like I've been on a journey this episode. And so I'm also excited. Well,
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure working with Evan and Andrew about this. It's been awesome. So, yeah, kudos, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Me too. I love working with you guys, and I love being able to riff off of your guys' imagination and do my best to make it what you guys imagine look as cool as possible.
Yeah, well, you bring a lot of imagination to it yourself. Too.
Sure, yeah.
Like a lot of
you.
original ideas.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I've enjoyed working with you guys as well. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is a supersized episode, so if you made it this far, you're the best. Drop us a line, ask us some questions, info@earthbornegames.com, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye.